Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of the United States of a Movie Podcast. We're the movie podcast that makes every Monday a fun day. We get together, we talk movies, but of course we have a purpose here. We're the podcast that's trying to find one movie to define each state in these United States. We've already finished one full trip around America, plus a whole bunch of bonus episodes. Currently, we're still in the first third of our second trip around these American states, and today we're stopping in the state of Pennsylvania, where we are trying to topple... I'm just honestly, how did it win? Sudden death. We're trying to
so bad at this.
How would it not win? What are you talking about? That might be the best movie I've ever seen in my life.
It's still amazing to me that I swear.
I see the list and I see the winner. I'm like, how did we get there?
Who's running this?
And I go back and listen to the episode. And I'm like, yeah, all right.
Exactly. The thing is, you think you know where this is going to end up. Someone says something random. It sends off on some random tangent. And before you know it, Sudden Death is the movie to define Pennsylvania, at least until today, because today we are bringing two movies to the table. But before we get there, let's welcome back my amazing co-host, Ryan Sandler. Welcome back, buddy.
Great to be here. I don't know where I end and Blob begins. I guess. I don't know. It's late. I'm tired.
And as always, sitting in the middle of his very own video store in the center of Los Angeles, California, Will Hirsch, buddy. Welcome back.
It's great to be here, but you know, it's better to be here than in the gorilla cage I was just in over this past weekend. Let me tell you, those gorilla guards, they were sleeping on the job.
Yeah, future senators. That's right. That's what they are. So yes, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the movies that we've decided to try and dethrone. Again, I'm still laughing about it, but Sudden Death. I mean, honestly, I should rewatch that movie. It was a ridiculous amount of fun. But all right. So Will, why don't you introduce the dusty movie once again that you have brought to the table? This was an interesting one.
Okay. So this is a movie.
Okay. All right. Okay.
If I told you it was a sci-fi classic starring Steve McQueen, you'd probably be pretty excited to see the movie until you watched the movie. And I brought 1958. No, 8?
I think.
Yeah,
57,
58.
58's The Blob.
Yeah,
woof.
Not to be confused with the 80s one that definitely had a really scary VHS cover.
Which fucking rules,
Yeah.
by the way.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it last time.
Let's just talk about the 80s movie. Let's just forget about this movie.
I was shocked that this movie was in color. I for some reason thought it was going to be black and white, maybe because like the cover is in black and white. Like, odd choice, but
yeah,
for that time period, because we had just watched Ace in the Hole,
right?
Which was, I thought that came out in 57. That was 51?
I mean, it was weird because even the images that you see of the Blob are black and white. And so I was quite surprised when it turned up in color, and I was like, all right. I mean, I guess so, so we can see Stephen McQueen's Baby Blues as he is credited in this particular movie. It's great, actually. I've only just opened, so I only watched the movie like about an hour ago. I use the term movie pretty generously.
Stage play.
I watched this episode of Happy Days featuring an amigo.
We said it was like a really bad episode of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, which would be a great episode if anything. But I was watching the movie, and it was one random shot of Steve McQueen where he's talking to his girlfriend, and there's a bunch of smoke going up behind him, and I'm like, what the hell? Number 2 fact on IMDb is he's constantly smoking and he's just holding a cigarette behind his back.
Yeah.
I was like, I knew it. I bet he's just got a cigarette behind his back.
What a badass.
I know. And he's the most haggard looking 21-year-old I've
I
ever seen in
could
my
not
entire
believe
life.
He looks younger than all of us. Sorry, older than all of us in this particular movie. I'm looking at him, dude, are you 58 years old? Yeah. Man, the 50s were hard.
I look like Steve McQueen looks currently.
I also see another interesting fact is Steve McQueen had the poster for this film on his bedroom wall at the time of his death. This may have caused his death. That's all I'm gonna go with.
Well, he was killed via blob, right? That's how he died. A blobbing accident.
I was thinking of this last night. This movie answers the question: what would it be like to be chased by a very slow-moving raspberry gusher.
We finally have the answer.
Like,
It is.
Yeah.
you said too before, this movie's like 80-something minutes, but it felt like forever.
Oh God. Yeah.
Let's even. I mean, for a second, let's just take 2 seconds because I've been singing
A movie that starts with a Saul Bass like animated intro with
music,
crazy theme song.
the blob,
really sets the blob, really sets the tone.
It's
climbing
Adam's
on the
Family
wall.
ass like
were
theme
people
song.
were people at the beach surfing to this
Yes!
song? Because that's the vibe.
I was like, what the fuck are we getting into? Because I was like, this is a really, really upbeat. I was taking my wife and my son for a walk, and I'm singing
It's
it.
still in my head. Yeah.
By the time we're walking back, my wife was singing it. I'm like, she's never even heard the song. I was like, oh, good God.
Yeah, it's tantamount to like starting a horror movie these days with Baby Shark. It's like that kind of like song where you're just kind of like, what? Well, how do we start our horror movie?
Are you listening, Damien Leone? Terrifier 4.
Make it happen.
Let's go.
It was so bizarre because the opening intro made me feel like, oh, we're getting into a wacky sort of hijinks. It was almost a bit, considering it's 50s, I was like, it's got a little bit more of that 60s vibe. You're expecting to, kind of like you're saying, is to cut to the beach and everyone's kind of doing the mashed potato.
Right.
You know, and it's like, everyone's having a good time.
Like the plot of the movie was going to be Steve McQueen and the Blob were going to have a surfing competition, you know, and that was going to be it.
Ooh. Wow.
Oh my God. Okay, so he's playing a teenage high school student in this particular movie. He's 28 years old in this movie. And even, I was going to say, Steve, even for 28, buddy, you were looking pretty rode hard and put away wet, as they say here in Texas.
Yeah. My goodness.
Still handsome.
Oh God, devastatingly handsome, that guy. And effortlessly cool as well. But I mean, at some points in this movie, I was relatively convinced that people were just given a general guidance for where the plot was going to go, and everyone was just improvising lines because...
Oh, this could not have been written down. That would be insane.
We'll get to it, but I know I mentioned on the text thread, but when you get to the scene where they're in the diner downstairs and the police chief is conversing with the fire chief,
right,
the level of line delivery was shocking.
Well, I'll tell you what this movie reminded me of. Okay, I do believe I think it was Maine. Didn't we do the Iron Giant?
Yes.
Okay. So there is a bit in the Iron Giant where the character is sitting downstairs and he's watching a black and white like movie, and it's the acting is, do not go in there. Oh my God. Oh, look, a monster. And I was like, oh, look, it's referencing the Blob.
It's just how movies, I mean, to clarify, like, I enjoyed watching this movie. This was like, it was really fun. I wish we all watched it together because this is such like a mystery science theater type of film. And it's crazy that they have this, like, I don't know if this was his first movie or I don't know Steve McQueen's filmography up to this point, but like,
I'm pretty sure this was his first movie, wasn't it?
This is at the very least his first leading film.
It had to be. His name is Steve in this movie. Like,
yeah, I love that. Yeah.
It's kind of a Tony Danza thing where you're kind of afraid he's not going to remember the character's name. So
right.
You have to name them the same.
Yeah.
So
it's like that Mr. Show bit where they have to put peanut butter in the actors' mouths to get them to do their lines. Like,
exactly.
Just that, like,
if we call him a name other than Steve, he's gonna get confused.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm just imagining Steve McQueen with a bunch of peanut butter in his fucking mouth. I was just guys, it's crazy. I was just like, it's bonkers to me. I was just reading that the song was written by Burt Bacharach. So the Blob was written by Burt Bacharach and Mac David.
From Austin Powers?
It peaked at number 33 in the nation and in the Billboard Hot 100. And
I
was
bet.
recorded by a studio group who adopted the name The Five Blobs. Oh my God, guys.
Which was the original name for this podcast.
I'd say so. This movie, okay. So if you haven't seen the movie, it tells a story of a small sort of Pennsylvania town. And it starts with the oldest teenager ever out on a date with this girl. And this movie starts blobbing straight from the beginning. It really doesn't.
It blobs hard.
It blobs right from the beginning, right from the get-go. It's just wall-to-wall blobbage because, like a shooting star comes down, lands. And I was like, wow, this is like the giant spider invasion. basically.
Yes.
It's almost like
now in color.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just with less weird, creepy incest insinuation and stuff like that.
That's really why this movie's knocked down a few notches for
But
me.
just enough. It's you get that, and then the comet crashes down. He's like, "Well, I better go check this out." And then you get the old man who I was convinced was Lloyd Bridges.
Yeah. Yeah.
Had to look that up.
Oh my god, you're not wrong there. Yeah, he has very got much, a quick the wrong day to quick sniffing glue.
Yeah.
And then he does the.
Strangely enough, he was 35.
He did the classic. I've just found something from space approach of
Go ahead and poke
it
goo?
with a stick. Yeah. Gonna poke it with a stick, and then it pretty quickly gets started that the goo gets on his hand. Steve McQueen and his girlfriend, who was 78 years old at the time, I believe, Jane Martin. They almost hit him with their car on the road. They take him to a doctor, and just guys, this whole movie is ridiculous.
I was ready. Like the doctor is like closing shop. He's getting ready to go home. He's had a long day. He turns off the lights, shuts the door, puts a little card on there, and they pull up. And they're like, "Doc, you got to help me." He's like, "Nah, I'm done."
Yeah, I was waiting for that too, guys. I'm done.
I wish this was like I was really watching this through that lens of this would be a better comedy.
Oh yeah. By far.
It's pretty close because I was laughing quite a few times. But yeah, so then the doctor brings him in and he's like, "You're going to be okay, old timer." And he injects him with, I'm sure, is just penicillin. And because it's the 50s, I'm sure he's pretty confused as to why didn't that work. But I
covers him with the blanket and we're like,
Yes!
all right,
that's what I mean.
There we go.
I do like
that. Cured, right?
Yeah.
Out of sight, out of mind. His entire approach is just covered with blanket, and then he checks it every few minutes, and it's just getting worse and worse. And he goes, okay. And eventually he's like, maybe I should call somebody in. Calls a nurse, and he's like, we're going to have to chop his arm off. I go, I think you're too late for that, mate. But by this point, the blob has blobbed. And I love the bit that instead of just being like weirded out, it's just they're both terrified of the blob, and he's immediately like, we must destroy it.
Right.
And it escalates so quickly. He like, nurse, don't move. Because what is it? It's visions based on movement. I mean, like, how do we know what's going on? Throw acid on it. Oh, that didn't work. And I love it. I'm gonna go get my gun. Nurse dead. I'm like, wow, this is great. People are just dying immediately. This is great.
It's crazy to think that like up until Jaws came out, like this was what these types of movies were.
Right.
Like this was considered a terrifying film to go see.
It's amazing that post World War II this could scare people. Like that's just really, really funny to me.
Yeah. It was either space aliens, robots, or an inanimate pile of goo. You know?
Yeah.
I do like the bit that it's like Steve McQueen. So basically, like there's kind of like a subplot. The plot of the movie is essentially teens try to convince adults that there is danger. And the cops who, I must admit, there's a little bit of character development with the cops. There's Dave, who's a nice cop. There's the cop that plays chess. There's the other cop that doesn't believe teenagers and just scoffs and scoffs and scoffs, or at least until the end of the movie. But it's where Steve comes back and he sees the doctor dying through the window in a hilarious sort of like shot. And I do love that, like, the acting choice of Steve McQueen was to come back to the car and just not face the camera. He just faces away from camera for 20 seconds, and I can't tell if he's laughing. I can't tell if he's like, this is the stupidest fucking movie I've ever been in my life. I just like, he's like, oh, but he tries to do scared. And it's like this movie didn't have enough coverage.
He has one emotion, and it's just scowl.
Yeah. You just don't buy. Sort of like if you were to ever see a movie where like Robert Redford would have to play somebody who's not good with women. Steve McQueen playing somebody who's like afraid at any point. You're like, no, I don't buy it. I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, at one point he quite literally kind of like 1960s Batman and Robin, like puts his fist into his hand, like, we got to do something, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like he can't use the phone. And I'm like, oh my God, Steve, I know you are a great actor, but dude.
Yeah, that's just him being angry. He can't be smoking a cigarette on screen at all times.
He's just jonesing like right there.
This movie is a series of takes of him waiting for his next smoke break, and he's just like, let's get through this dialogue. We gotta go.
So like dialogue, you can. I don't know if you can legally call it dialogue.
True.
I did like I said, I was getting some crazy, the giant spider invasion vibes, and then on the way to the doctor, they overtake three other teens who, for a minute, I was like, all right, now are we doing the Wraith? because these guys are waiting for him outside the doctor's office, and I was like, okay, they're getting angry, and then
they see him like whiz by, and then they follow him to the doctor's office.
We can't allow this. It's like the ultimate dick measuring contest of 1958, because they were like so outraged that you can't overtake us, you son of a bitch. And then they proceed to race backwards. But then after that, they're all like, hey, we're just pals and we're having a good time.
Anyway, we're going to the movies. See you later.
They take off Steve McQueen's hubcap and put it on his head. And that's it. That's their revenge. Just
devastating.
God, how did this generation like win World War II? Like this is supposed to be like.
It was their fathers, I think.
I was fascinated by that scene where he has to go back to the movie theater to recruit I'm assuming they're all friends, like recruits these friends in this really insane, loud dialogue scene in this packed movie theater full of 12 people. Very small room.
For a midnight showing as well.
Yeah. Of a scary video, he called it?
Yeah, like the whole theater.
Sorry. We're going to go see the new Spook vid.
Like the spook picture.
Like racist dog, you can't say that.
They do have like the loudest conversation in this movie theater. It was reminding me of that like Key and Peele sketch where like Andre.
I mean, you get the one crotchety old man that's like, I'm trying to watch this here moving picture. I ain't got time for no blobs.
Shakespeare. Well, no one in this movie has time for blobs because, well, we can't trust Steve McQueen because he was just racing a car backwards. And so the cops are pretty much convinced that this is just some sort of like escalating prank. But of course, the teens are like, we got to do something about this. In between smoke breaks. So he does break out of his house. And like the girl in this movie, sometimes I was like, is she a robot? Is she just an android? She's got the most vacant just eyes and stare, and it's like, Steve, we must go.
I think the acting throughout most of this is pretty wooden, to say the least.
I would be shocked if any of these people, other than Steve McQueen, were actors prior to this movie. I feel like they just went around town and were like, you want to be in a spooky picture? Like, oh, okay.
Well,
you're a cop today.
Anita Corso, by the looks of it, she majored in drama from Northwestern University and studied acting with Lee Strasberg. Girl, get your money back.
I would, if I were that institution, I would have that taken off the internet and not have my name attached to it.
That was her first movie, though she had done a little bit of television before that one. She's in Blazing Saddles.
She's the horse. Yeah.
With the peanut butter in her mouth.
And normally, like, you look at a movie like this with acting like that's that bad, and it just kind of adds to the charm of it. But this one was kind of just not good.
Well, it's just like the opening scene. You're like, they're sitting in a car, but you can't see anything in the background. It's just black. And it almost feels like it was like the start of a high school play.
It's all shot day. It's all day for night.
And it's just, you can see there'll be a shooting star. And
but God forbid you call her Janie girl. Don't fucking do that.
No,
what was that about?
My name is Jane. Okay. All right. We're
Janie.
I mean, Jane. And
like, but don't worry, that's a bit of information that really comes back into play. Yeah. Wait, never mind. No, that never comes up again.
No, it doesn't.
Really ruin that fingering.
So this movie apparently it was actually shot in Pennsylvania. I was seeing this is like, it's very much like the giant spider invasion, where it was like when we got into that movie, it was shot all around that area. They just like Will's saying is they just roped people in going, hey, do you want to be in a movie? There were shots that was very similar of people running through town or people running out of the movie theater. And you see, did anyone else notice like these people are just falling down and hurting themselves, because just, take one. All right, fine. Well, that person fell over. That person hit their head. These people are getting trampled. Looks good for the film though.
Here's your nickel. Get the fuck out of here.
I definitely think people hurt themselves more than the Blob killed anybody in this movie. For being a movie about a blob that grows in size and kills people, there is way too few blobbings throughout this entire
Yeah, I
thing.
was gonna say, 'cause you only see like
blobbings throughout this entire
Yeah, I
thing.
was gonna say, because you only see like 2 or 3 blobbings, and they say like the police chief goes like 40, 50 people have been killed, and I'm like,
Yeah,
when?
where? Yeah.
we saw the 2 people at the beginning. We saw the guy working in the like underneath
mechanic.
the car,
Yeah. You don't even see that.
and then we saw the projectionist.
Yeah.
The projectionist. That's it. Like, you know, so 4 people die in this movie. Apparently, 50 or 60 people die. And it's like, yeah, it's very much kind of like, it's just, you know, it's not Jaws, but it's Jaws in as much as like you just never really see it. And when you do see it, it's always kind of funny.
I mean, which had the more iconic theme song?
Yeah. Which one do we hum to this day?
The Jaws, he's swimming up behind you. The Jaws, the Jaws.
Get John Williams. Get John Williams.
Like this whole movie, like I said, this whole movie felt like it was just done like, guys, we got enough film for one take.
It felt like a student film. Like,
Yeah.
you know, very, very low budget. But again, I enjoyed it.
It's got a certain charm to it, because it's shit, I guess.
Yeah.
It is like a so bad it's good. I know we said it's like a mystery science theater. But
Yeah,
it's a
that's what
good-
you texted, and you're 100% right. It is very much, and you were right that it would have been a fun group watch because we could just roasted the shit out of it as we were watching it because it's just so it's so lazy and charming and sweet and ridiculous.
It is charming, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
No, it's exactly what you think of when you think of a 50s sci-fi movie. Like it is like this movie.
Well, like, you know, I was having that conversation with Mrs. while on a walk, and I was like, yeah, no, but you know, look at War of the Worlds, and like look at you know,
Day the Earth Stood
Day
Still.
the Earth Stood Still. Exactly.
Right.
There are some really good, like really like, oh, I love those movies. I watched them when I was a kid, and I was like, I watched this one. I'm like, Zen, this movie was not good.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, this movie came out a year earlier in Japan is when Godzilla came out. Ooh. So just to let you know the level of difference that like people were playing at back in the day, like insane.
I mean, what would scare you more, a giant fucking 50-story lizard or the inside of a jelly donut?
I mean,
yeah,
I know I keep saying these food references, but that thing looked fucking delicious. I don't know what it was.
I know
it did. Nobody tried eating it.
Nah,
like, that might have worked.
In kind of like the same way that, like, you know, was it the goo from Ghostbusters 2? I always thought was like, yeah, that'd be pretty good with a spoon. I reckon that'd be pretty tasty. And this, like, so it kind of like, I want to say escalates, but it kind of doesn't. There was a bit I really did enjoy. Like, you can see that, like, Steve McQueen's having some fun, like, hopping over things. He likes to show that he can hop down from things. He can hop up onto things, back
He's
down.
no Kirk Douglas, but come on.
Yeah, he's not pretty good. But I do like that his girlfriend, that when they were in the grocery store and they go investigating the grocery store, everyone's like, hey, this door's unlocked, we should go check it out. And she gets like spooked by the blob and she falls back. Like, she falls back through a bunch of, like, tin cans. And that's enough to just kind of completely, like, she's half knocked out. Like, she just,
oh, yeah.
And he comes in, like, and she's just, like, lying on the floor, like, oh.
She is a woman, I mean.
And exactly, it's the 50s. And he kind of picks her up and, like, you know, like, with a petticoat and everything. And it's like, oh, poor little lady. Don't you worry. I'll save her. Exactly. I was like, what the fuck is going on? But yeah, like you're saying, is that like no one's really picking up on the danger here.
That would have been funny if he was like, "Are you okay, Janie girl?" And she goes, "Jane, dead."
We have to mention that there was one other character that does get brought into the movie. So when the two teens, the 28-year-old teens,
the dog,
right? No, there's a dog, but no, I'm talking about the small child. So Jane's younger brother. God. Who comes down and just, I mean, honestly, it's like Haley Joel Osment in Sixth Sense level acting. Pretty incredible stuff. No, this child is terrible.
I was rooting for the Blob so hard.
When he ran out of caps, I was like,
it made me miss the boy from Shane. Like they should hang out.
God, the two worst
the
kids.
Most annoying child in history. Yeah. Oh my God. I actually deleted the child from Shane. Shane. Exactly. The whole plot of that movie is
I thought for sure
just riding off to die to get away from that child.
I thought for sure this boy was going to get blobbed, but again, it's the 50s, so they probably wouldn't do that.
But yeah, he just like comes down and is like, I'm gonna protect you. I don't like the dog. And so basically, you know, and then the sister's like, I don't even remember. The basic Steve McQueen and the girl, they break out the house because it's the 50s, I guess, and they go running around trying to find the blob and then trying to get people to find the blob. And I love how like it's just like it just keeps getting bigger. Well, because every time it eats someone, it gets bigger, right?
Right.
But it also like just kind of it always just happens to be in the right place at the right time. But I did like they did some fun little things. I'll give them that. Like, you know, I like the effect of it coming through the vents.
Yeah.
It
worked with what they had. Like, even, you know, we'll talk about it later, but when it engulfs the diner, and it's all like hand animated, which I thought was really cool. Like the electrical bits, like it just felt like a Charles Fleischman cartoon. Like it
it felt like it felt like a Disney cartoon. Yeah. It's like, you know, it's doing all the shock kind of stuff.
I like the special effects, I guess.
Apparently,
they still have the original Blob in a bucket somewhere.
Oh, that's good. Someone must have tried to eat it by now,
or fuck it. Yeah, eat it, Will. Sure, yeah.
I mean, like the only thing I thought about, because I was the same way. I liked all the little like coming through the vents, coming through like the theater windows, but the entire time I was just wondering, like, there would have to be stuff stuck to it, right? Like the more I like rolled around, it would just have to have like
hair,
grit and hair and just leaves on it. Like that thing would be pretty.
It's like you guys remember
used condom.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, do you remember those like the little slap hands? They were elastic. You stick to the window.
There's great. They were great for 2 seconds
until you dropped it on your carpet, and you're like, that's just disgusting.
So it should be that.
Yeah. It turns out, so it looks like some of our theories are actually, you know, not too far off. That the Blob was reportedly inspired by a discovery of star jelly in Pennsylvania in 1950. So it's Pennsylvania connection, guys. When 4 Philadelphia policemen reported the discovery of a domed disc of quivering jelly, 6 foot in diameter, 1 foot thick at the center, they tried to pick it up and it dissolved into an odorless, sticky scum. They thought it would be some sort of industrial discharge, and the 4 police officers died. Now, okay, that last part's not true, but let's be honest. You're finding a bunch of stuff in the 50s.
More interesting than this movie.
It's 100% nuclear. But I like that actually, the Pennsylvania connection is there. That, okay, all right, originated from a weird blob of stuff in Pennsylvania. So, like, guys, we got it. I'm amazed that it didn't say true story.
I'm amazed this again, like, it's crazy that that only 2 Blob movies exist. It's this one and the one 40 years later. I thought for sure this was like based on a movie from much, much earlier.
Though you gotta give it to movie studios, because as we all know, as we've talked about on the show before, never make a bad decision and are also just not motivated by money in any way. That they re-released this movie in the 70s after the Towering Inferno. In various other countries and tried to spin it as an Irwin Allen style disaster movie. Like
same movie.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
They just just put it back out and put a better poster or something on it and go, hey guys, you like the Towering Inferno? Like, you'll love this.
Yeah. Trust us, it's in color.
What other Steve McQueen movie do we have in the trash? Like, throw it up. Yeah. It makes sense. But, I mean, it is crazy the level of difference between the remake and this one. Yeah, because the remake is disgusting. Like it is like
it's gnarly. Yeah, people.
It's good.
Solving that thing.
But it is like one of those things that really did give me nightmares as a kid, just seeing people just dissolve in the blob.
Yeah, that movie shook. I definitely watched that movie too young and. Remember it pretty vividly how graphic the gore was.
Okay, this is pretty cool. All right, so I mean, it's not going to surprise us that the filming of the movie took about 30 days. But the special effects took 6 to 9 months to complete, which is...
I bet if they're rotoscoping and like doing all that like hand animation to it.
And there was like they were switching in between some like interesting like moments. I like the bit where they sort of animated it coming through the windows of the diner as well. So they were just like you said, Ryan, they were kind of using every little trick they had in the deck to try and sort of like get it to work. And then like I do like that the one trick, again, you mentioned Jaws, they keep doing like the Jaws thing but bad, as in what I mean is like when the sort of like it takes over the diner, they go, oh, it's all around the diner, but don't really show it. Much like the last act of the movie that I expected was coming when they go, guys, there's the army's sending a globe master, and they go, oh, I sure hope the Arctic's cold. Cut to parachute, the end. Question mark?
Yeah.
What?
The last line of the movie is like, we're going to
I sure hope the Arctic stays cold.
Stays cold. I'm like, ooh, boy. But I was telling you guys, like, if you like end this movie and immediately watch John Carpenter's The Thing,
that's a very good double feature and makes perfect sense as well. This is great. There were 2 proposed television series based on the film. They didn't make it out of pilot stage, but one of the people, the producer suggested the blob could become good and solve crimes.
Well, hang on.
Yes. Wait. No, you just turned me around on this.
I picture the blob turning around doing the Matlock. Like,
yeah.
What are these youths up to?
The Blob, Matthew McConaughey going to solve a murder.
Oh my
God. So into this.
True Blob Detective? Yes. Yes.
God.
Like smoking a cigarette really intensely.
Yeah.
Time is a flat blob.
HBO, call us up.
Yeah,
well, HBO doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, right. Does it? It doesn't. Yeah, I still call it HBO.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was filmed all around southeastern Pennsylvania. It's shot at Valley Forge Studios, but it was also shot around the towns of Chester Springs, Downingtown, which is was it like the American version of Downton Abbey, Phoenixville, Royersville. The movie everyone's running out is the Real Colonial Theater.
No, that was cool.
In Phoenixville. That's right. I forgot to mention as well that in the my favorite part of the Blob song, which is kind of like the blob is coming for you. It's like, what are we fucking doing?
Yeah. It's the lollipop, like where they do that little pop.
Yeah.
And they brought that back.
I mean, I'm sure this was like at the time a hit, and people were buying that fucking record.
They were,
right?
They were. Like I said, it got number 33.
This is such an iconic. Like everyone has heard of the Blob, but I feel like no one has seen it. You're over 70.
I'm trying to see if I can find it. It's on Spotify. Son of a bitch, it is.
Remix.
I was gonna say it was the not like us of its day. Like,
Yeah, it was actually performed at the Super Bowl.
By Kendrick
at Super Bowl 1. Thing is, okay, weirdly enough, this movie actually. So I believe Steve McQueen was offered like $2,500 or 10% of the gross, and he took the $2,500, but he should have gone for the gross.
For his first movie, though,
because they made $4 million off $110,000 budget, $4 million in 1958, which, as we all know, is $28 gajillion or 6 eggs.
Yeah, yeah. A whole half dozen eggs, you could almost make an omelet.
Oh man, I got 7 eggs now, and my chickens are just pumping it out. I'm gonna be rich. I'm gonna be so rich right now.
My God.
Actually, I did eat 3 of them today, and they were delicious.
Do you taste a difference with?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yes. Oh, 100%. Yes. All my friends, because one of my local friends here in Texas, they would give us their eggs from their chickens and stuff. They taste great.
And you just crack them into a glass and drink it like Rocky?
Yep, 100%. Yeah. And the other thing as well is because they don't get that sort of acid wash or whatever they do here in America, that, because you guys have to refrigerate your eggs, where in the rest of the world you don't. With eggs that you've been laid, they last forever. You can just leave them there for weeks. And
they turn into chickens.
I was gonna say, don't they hatch?
Well, they do not. Okay, so but my daughter asked that same question, and I was like, it's not a stupid question, because don't we need a rooster? And I was like, no, you don't need a rooster to lay eggs. You just need a rooster to make chickens. Yeah, they do, because I said, well, look, do women need, when they lay an egg every month, they don't need a man to do that, do they? Oh my God,
theirs don't taste
your
as good.
faces are amazing. I love it. They're both just like going, what?
What's the volume? I'm sorry, we're derailing
Welcome
the
to Egg.
podcast.
Welcome to the Egg Podcast.
Yeah, welcome to the United States of Eggs.
You're looking at a nude egg. No, but what's the volume? Like, how often are they laying an egg?
One of them's doing it like every sort of 36 hours or so, and the other one's doing it every like 3 or 4 days.
Just fucking plopping them out, huh?
So, but one of them's massive, like they do. So Gertrude, who's the small, you know what? We're not talking about eggs anymore. You know, that's reflective of
this
honestly
is all I want to know about.
How interesting the
One
Blob
last question: when are you getting an ostrich? Because I feel like that would solve all your problems.
Yes.
You make that joke, buddy, but this is Texas, where right now there is a kangaroo loose, and I was driving down the road. Just down the road, and I drove past an emu at full sprint that had got out. And there's zebras down the road as well. So this is Texas. So everyone's got like African game. There are more lions in Texas than there are in fucking Africa, apparently. So, this is a really fascinating state to live in. I can tell you that much.
Well, sorry, I will never come to visit you, Ollie. We'll stay right here.
So we do get it's seeming like there's nothing that can be done to stop the blob because as we've seen, people have shot it, people have been dissolved by it. Steve McQueen just throws like a knife at it at one point, which is like whoa, just throws it. But it turns out it does have a problem because they get stuck. He and his girlfriend and his girlfriend's little brother all get stuck inside this diner with like this. Is he Italian American? Like he had.
It's kind of a switch flips and he goes, "Hey, full paisano."
Yeah, it was just like, yeah, okay, I guess. They get trapped inside this sort of dining car, diner, and then so they try to electrocute him.
Which has a basement?
Yes, I was surprised about that too. And I was also surprised about so they try to electrocute it, does not work, but it does start a fire inside the diner. Which was peculiar, but that's when we have the big wow moment of Steve realizing that, hey, wait a minute, CO2. Yeah, so cool. If you cool it down, you can cool the blob. And that sort of starts off, oh, guys, we've got to get fire extinguishers. And some guy's like, even the fire chief goes, I know where we can find 5. And the policeman's like, we might need more than that, chief.
Guy is my favorite character.
He was the best. He's just constantly just got no solutions for the problems. And how do you expect me to do this? Dude, you're the fucking fire chief. Figure it out. I was like, all right.
That guy has the biggest he
really
wearing my dad's outfit to the office energy. Like that guy, they just slapped it on him. They're like, you're the fire chief. He's like, well, okay.
Hang on. We have to talk about the character that turns up and never really he's just the comedy relief in the moment. So because no one's believing them, the teenagers decide they're going to wake up the whole town. How they managed to set off an air raid siren, also in the 1950s, so I'm sure people were fucking terrified. But it cuts to the old guy sleeping in a separate bed from his wife, and it's an air raid going off. So he gets up and he puts on his air raid helmet and he starts getting changed, and then he hears a fire thing, goes, oh, it's a fire. And then he takes off his helmet and he puts on the fire thing and he goes, this has never happened before. I don't know what to do. I bet that killed in theaters in 1958. But I was just
this is billed as a comedy, right?
Well, the poster does say indescribable. And I go, yeah.
All right.
Pretty much.
Directors, if you're ever in a loss for what to describe your movie, just write indescribable.
5 stars. But then it's the other bit that did have me cracking up is the daughter's dad. He's like, I know where we can find some fire extinguishers. There's 25 at the school. And if only we had some help. And one of the kids is like, I was literally just saying that we could help. We're right here. Right. So all the kids in their cool cars and they go down to the school and there's real concern. Everybody's got to do it. We've got to save my daughter. There's a fire. And they walk up to the front door of the school and it's locked. And the guy
stumps them. They're just
all of them go, guys, what do we do? What do we do? It's this very lightweit wooden door with glass in it.
I guess we go home.
Everyone's going to die. And he has this, guys, no, wait. After a good 35 seconds of he checks his pockets and he doesn't have the key and he's like, oh, darn. And he goes, wait, guys. He's got the greatest idea ever. Picks up a rock and really dramatically throws it through. And I'm like, why couldn't just any of you just kick the door?
I was waiting for
this movie needed a longer runtime, so they're just padding.
Yeah.
Honestly, it felt like it.
I was waiting for the moment he broke the window, the cop that was right next to him to just start arresting him and be like, hey, that's breaking in. Instantly.
Yeah.
This movie is so ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I said, all the way up until they free them from the diner because everyone's been squirting it off camera with the CO2.
Excuse me?
Apparently it gets smaller, but we never really see that happen. We do a quick cut.
They clear it just enough for them because they're in the basement to crawl out through.
Right. And there's a little bit of celebration. And like I said, you go, okay, so then how are we going to fix this problem? And they go, don't worry, we'll fix it with 2 lines of dialogue, 1 shot, and a big question mark on screen.
What is a globesman?
It was a Globemaster. A Globemaster is just a
Same
big
question?
It's a big cargo plane. basically, is what I'm going to go with. So yeah, it just says, oh, like the Air Force is coming. They're going to send a big plane, but we don't have budget for that. We also don't have a budget for the Air Force. We don't even have a budget for a shot of a plane landing. But what we're going to do is do one quick shot of the Blob, one shot of it parachuting out into the Arctic. The end. Question mark.
And it was one of those. It's definitely like a tiny little box. Like again in the 50s, if you had like a plastic soldier with like a plastic bag, you could throw off your roof to have like a little parachute.
So 100% would have looked
shot
like
from like a distance. That's pretty cool. The end.
Yeah.
You don't even get the Blob song again.
Yeah. No. Oh man. Yeah, you're right. You know what I should do is I should end this episode with the Blob song.
Yes. With a question mark.
Yeah.
I'm already being sued for other reasons. I can't.
That being said, right? You know, would you recommend people watch this movie
as a group watch? I think so.
Yes.
I think it's a fun, random, silly Friday night. Make a big bowl of popcorn with some friends or with your kids, and just watch this silly movie and just kind of giggle and laugh.
But to be clear, it is bad.
Yeah, right.
There are other better bad fun movies you can watch. Just listen to this podcast, for example. But I think it's an important film. Like, I mean, it is iconic. Like, it's so funny. I'd never seen it, and now I know why. Probably mostly because I was too scared of like the sequel, like the remake in the 80s. But
yeah, I was expecting, considering like the remake and stuff like
that, which I think is basically the same movie, like structurally.
That's my memory of it, because they go to a movie theater there too, right? Like,
I think so.
Well, I can't imagine that you can get too much more variety into a movie about a blob that dissolves people. You know,
you can only blob a movie so many different ways.
There's not that much character development you can really do for a blob until, like you said, it becomes true blob detective, and you know.
True. I mean, of all the movies I've seen with
TV,
of all the movies I've seen with like a mysterious goo in it, this is probably my least favorite.
Okay. But guys, considering, especially what we talked about last week when we were talking about Ace in the Hole.
Last week, it was 2 days ago.
Is the Blob has been released on the Criterion Collection.
Oh shit!
In 3 formats: Laserdisc, DVD, and Blu-ray in 2013. So the fact that Will doesn't own the Blu-ray of the Blob in and of itself is a travesty.
I was actually shocked that I didn't own it. I thought I did have it. So I must have had it at one point, because I know what the cover looks like. So I'm like, I thought I had it, but no, I guess I don't.
So what was this your first time seeing it, or you had seen it before?
No, I've seen like bits and pieces. Like, it's one of those, like, it was definitely on some movie channel at some point, and I'm sure like just over the course of like a bunch of different nights where I'm home staying up late, it was on something. But I had never sat down to like watch the entire thing.
And Ollie, you had never seen it either?
No, never. But I am currently reading, interesting enough, about the sequel, directed by Larry Hagman, released in 1972. It's called Beware! The Blob. Features the same creature. Now listen to this. As far as just what, what? Like Larry Hagman, as in JR. The same creature from the original. This time it starts as a small specimen that was unearthed by a bulldozer crew in the Arctic, and it is then brought back to where? Suburban Los Angeles.
It's like so it's the Predator 2 of of blobs.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's such a weird. What a weird, like, long.
Why is there a bulldozer crew in the Arctic? Is a big question.
Yeah. Oh no, I was about to say, like, maybe when did this come out?
This was 1972.
Oh, okay, that blows away my theory.
And it was also released under the other title, Son of Blob. What the hell?
Oh my god.
Oh, much better title. Much better title.
Son of a Blob.
Son of a Blob. God, that's so good. I was gonna say maybe they couldn't set it in the Arctic because of the thing, but that was the thing hadn't been. That was still 12 years away. Right? Yeah. So
well, I think they were just if it was technically a true sequel to that, it makes sense that they would unearth it sometime later. People just forget that the military just forgets that they had this
I mean, they did just kind of just drop it off and fly away. It makes sense that they would have forgotten.
And it does say, in Influence, John Carpenter's version of The Thing has a virtually identical camera shot of a body lying under a blanket on a gurney in which the blanket moves. So, you know,
I was going to say, I bet he was at least inspired to some degree of this, but wasn't The Thing also a remake from the 50s?
Yeah, The Thing is also a remake. Right? Yeah,
of the Blob.
Of the Blob.
They're just running out of things to call movies. Like, I don't know, The Blob, The Thing, The Stuff, like
The Substance. Could you even imagine?
Hang on.
I mean, the other thing I was trying to clock was, it seemed like the movie they were watching in the movie theaters, it seemed like that was like a bunch of clips from a bunch of different movies.
I
wonder, did you see the poster for it? It was like the vampire and the robot or something.
Yeah, it was something like that. Well, it was like and like Bela Lugosi.
Yeah,
you know.
I was like, that sounds like a much better movie.
Oh yeah, I was totally into it.
The movie being shown in the theater was not created for this film. It was an actual movie originally released as Dementia in 1955. The scenes shown are from the recut version titled Daughter of Horror, which added narration. The voice doing the narration is that of Ed McMahon.
They wanted to call it Dementia, but they were worried no one would remember the
title. Boom, boom. And on that note, let's move on over to
That's Blob, baby!
Let's move over to our other movie. And that movie is a movie that Will had never seen. This was a new one.
Sorry. Ryan, are you recording? Mm-hmm. Okay, sorry.
Because he wants to make sure that you were recording, Ryan, so he can proclaim that he has finally seen the scene from Just Watch. Because as we were, I don't know if you said so. Because we use this app, okay, Just Watch. It's a great way to find out if movies are,
see what's streaming where.
And we were shocked. We were. I even went down and immediately showed Mrs. is that if you right now, ladies and gentlemen, open Just Watch or go to the website and type in the movie Trading Places, no joke, the image that they use for the movie is a screenshot of topless Jamie Lee Curtis.
Not even edited or blurred.
Nope. I was like, my jaw dropped. There is more to this. My
pants dropped.
But yes,
got me to watch the movie right away. Let me tell you,
the movie that we're going to do is the 1983 John Landis movie Trading Places, which Ryan and I feel like have seen. Like, Ryan, you've seen this a million times.
I've seen this movie so many times and never once clocked that it was set in Philadelphia. I always, like watching it as a kid, I always just assumed New York or Chicago for some reason. But I was perplexed as to why.
That being said, the opening sort of 5 minutes of this movie is a full-on tour of the entirety of Philadelphia. I mean, it's like in the same way that the opening of Beverly Hills Cop is just going around Detroit. There are just so many shots, just
like Ferris Bueller does for Chicago.
Right.
This does for Philadelphia.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, but like, so Will, like you heard of this movie, surely? Like,
I had heard of it, yeah, absolutely, and I've seen clips for sure.
We know which clips.
I've seen one clip so many times, but no, this is the first time I had ever actually sat down to watch this movie. Like, there's a bunch of like 80s movies that are popular that are, to me, Comedy Central movies. Sure. Where they were just on all the time, and I never would watch them all the way through, because if I was watching Comedy Central, I'm like, it's not, a Mr. Show rerun.
It's not the Blu-ray.
It's not the Blu-ray.
It's not Criterion.
But this is the first time actually watching the movie. Like, that's awesome. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious.
Thank God.
Well, you never quite know. I mean, like, the thing is, it's like, John Landis, it was, especially in the early 80s, it was a lot of sort of like things that were being made. You've got, Dan Aykroyd, who absolutely crushes it in this movie, I have to be honest. And just Eddie Murphy at him just like he's just becoming the biggest thing in the world, the biggest thing in comedy. And I think, Ryan, you were the one that said it, and I completely agree with you, is I could just watch a whole 2 hours of Eddie Murphy on that little thing, pretending to be the injured Vietnam vet, because it's just, and you watch it and you go, man, I mean, I understand the guy's like 60-something years old, but man, just young Eddie Murphy is a machine gun of comedy.
Yeah.
I feel like every line of dialogue of his was improv. It just has that effortless just charm and feel to it. Like I know all of his lines, like all of the lines in this by heart. And it's funny, I haven't seen this movie in a very long time. And again, I'm always worried, like watching something anew for the podcast. I'm a little hesitant, but man, it took me right back to watching this on Comedy Central.
Yeah. and that's despite this movie being the most cancelable movie of all time.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
My God.
Yeah, it is. It is, yeah. I mean, this just comes after, like, you know, we've done it on the show not that long ago. We did Blues Brothers. This is 3 years later, you know, reuniting John Landis and Dan Aykroyd. And then, yeah, this movie is just like, you know, you could show like a 2025 like Gen Alpha or Gen Z, and they'd be like, what?
It's a real pearl clutcher.
Yeah. There's this like, okay, cool. It's like slur after slur after slur. And I'm like, okay. But I'm like, well, man, the early 80s was a pretty wild time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Slurs and blackface and
And
gorilla rape. Like it's got it all, people. John Landis, the worst thing about it. Yeah.
But it does have an absolute banging cast as well, like with the supporting cast of Don Amici. Don Amici's great, and it's Ralph Bellamy. I mean, the Duke brothers are just such capitalist bastards in this movie. And it's great. I mean,
I love a fucking switcheroo movie. I mean, and my other favorite, I forget, it's probably in New York, but Mel Brooks did oh my God, where he loses all his money. It's the same fucking thing.
Brewster's Millions?
Mel Brooks? No. That was,
Richard Pryor.
Life Stinks. Excuse me. Life Stinks. Same thing. Like he bets this guy that he can't live in the slums with none of his money and resources for an extended period of time. Does it, comes back, and the guy's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry. And it's him and Jeffrey Tambor. It's great.
Well, I mean, honestly, seeing as we did say Brewster's Millions, originally this was going to be a Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder pair up, which I can see. But Dan Aykroyd playing Louis Winthrop III. Yeah, and he does it just the way he talks.
My Harvard tie. He's wearing my Harvard tie.
That's my car. That's my driver.
Perfect.
Yeah, he crushes it. And then, what I like is that, you know, you get kind of like the Eddie Murphy as Eddie Murphy, and then like he has the glow up and he's wearing the nice clothes. And I like how he's always catching himself from saying these people, you know.
It's amazing how fast he adjusts to being a wealthy person.
It's amazing how fast he adjusts and how quickly Jamie Lee Curtis falls for Dan
Aykroyd. Well, she is going to charge him 5 figures, so she is getting 10 grand. You know, funny enough, considering I've seen the movie a million times, this was the time I'm actually watching it and I thought the same thing of like, man, it doesn't wait around. Eddie Murphy just immediately figures out how to be a really good broker. And Dan Aykroyd figures out how to be a really good criminal and land Jamie Lee Curtis. You know what I mean? It was just like, okay, all right. You know, but you don't care.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, it's just really fun.
Well, they never explicitly state how much time has passed too.
Well, they actually do. Because
really?
I noticed
because it starts at like before Thanksgiving.
The announcement is January 2nd, and there's like this is Christmas Eve, so it's like it's only just over like a week, like 10 days or something like that. But essentially the way it comes out is that the Duke brothers, again, like I said, just two absolutely minted commodities brokers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, decide they're having a debate. Basically, one of them's reading in the magazine about environment or hereditary. Is like, you know, is it because of the way you were raised or is it the way you were born? And essentially, the Louis Winthrop III is running their brokerage firm or managing it. And he bumps into Eddie Murphy and then blames him for, you know, trying to rob him. And they decide
classic misunderstanding.
Yeah. They decide that, okay, let's basically do an experiment, and they make a bet, you know, that they can make Louis Winthrop become a criminal if they take away everything in his life, and then they can make Eddie Murphy's character Valentine, isn't it Eddie Valentine? Billy Ray Valentine, into a success if they just switch things around. So they just nuke They nuke Dan Aykroyd's life. They pay off a guy to plant drugs on him. Then that guy pays off a prostitute to break him up with his wife. They pay off Denol Menelit to pretend that like he doesn't exist. They take his house away. He loses his bank account. And he's just left broke on the street, dressed like a. And I love it. I love my favorite. Those men tried to have sex with me.
Yeah, Duke. I mean, he was definitely not treated well in that jail cell. But
by Frank Oz.
The Duke brothers own his house.
Yeah, it was weird.
Like, I
always thought that was strange.
And how did they close his personal? Whatever. I don't. What doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
They didn't close the account. The bank did because they were like, we don't do business with drug dealers. But then it's like we've been instructed to take away your cards, and then I'm like going, well, those aren't all issued by your bank. But again, who cares, guys?
It was the 80s, yeah. And Eddie Murphy does have legs.
Oh my god. Okay, let's just talk for a minute about, like I said, we were saying. Eddie Murphy being, a Vietnam veteran who's lost his legs, at least that's what he's doing.
And is blind.
And then he notices the cops, and so he immediately starts doing his Stevie Wonder impression that you've seen him do before. And it's just like, I was dying. Like, Eddie Murphy, like...
I was Ding Dong, I was Ding, I was Agent Orange.
That's what they call me.
I was Agent Orange. Rattles off is so fucking funny. Still, like, I was hesitant, but man, he fucking delivers.
Totally killing it. And like we said, also features Jamie Lee Curtis, who's at this time has basically been a scream queen. She is like Hollywood royalty, but this was kind of like one of those movies. And like, I mean, of course, we joke about it that yes, she does, get topless a couple of times in the movie, but she's so great in this movie. But this is very much where some of like her rebranding. Because even, she's talked about when she was younger, she was like seen as like, oh, we need somebody plain. We need somebody with absolutely no sex appeal. We need just like the girl next door. And, to anyone that's ever seen True Lies or just seen anything with Jamie Lee Curtis in, it's like, she's one of that woman is the sexiest woman on planet Earth.
This is the only movie James Cameron has seen.
Oh my God. But this movie gets, it starts... It gets going, and once it gets going, it's just at all times just screaming in one direction. It moves
at a clip. I always remember like certain bits and pieces from this movie, but like it goes fast. And I forgot it's a Christmas movie too.
Technically, yeah, and it's like 2 hours long as well. Like, so this is not like it's not like a 90-minute movie or anything like that, but like. It goes for it. And I have to be honest that when we selected the movie, it was something, it's so funny that Ryan, you said it, but it's almost like the first thing that I picture as well is that whenever I think Trading Places, I always think about the hairiest salmon scene. And like, I was watching it with Mrs. and she was like, oh my God.
I use that like anytime someone texts me like, oh, hey, any plans for Christmas? Like that's the image I send them. I've been doing that for 25 years.
It's just, it's basically, that's what I mean. Like with Dan Aykroyd is that, especially when you're up against, an Eddie Murphy, and this is, he's like 20 years old or something like that, if that. And he's just like so fast, but it's like the way that like Dan Aykroyd goes from playing Lewis to playing like down and out drunk, like where he just
great.
Not
even dialogue at a certain point. He's just
and it's
grunting.
Dark too. You get that the whole transpiration of those events. Like he goes to the stock wherever the office is, tries to plant more drugs. I love that Eddie Murphy pockets the joint, which then leads
and then he's got the gun.
He's got the gun. He's robbing all the food, has the gun. Takes the salmon, goes on the bus, eats the salmon, gets off, contemplates shooting himself in the fucking head. It starts raining. He throws the gun goes off.
Great gag, that one. It's like, because you're right, because it is super dark, and like again, Mrs. reacted to that as well, like, oh my God, like he tried to blow his head off, but then throws the gun and you get that great sort of like sound of it. I was
waiting for a cat to scream too.
Right. A vase to break.
Every sound effect. Glass break, gunfire, glass breaking, cat screeching.
I did notice in this movie that like absolutely no studio, because when they're outside, you see their breath.
Yeah.
They are cold as shit. And I did notice, like, when they were throwing the people out of, like, you know, the house, the posh house, you see the street outside. They're just shooting in, like, everywhere they're shooting. They had a lot of, like,
on location.
You know, in particular, the widest room in history where all of just the, you know, where they do the judgment thing, and it's just all of those paintings on the wall at the Heritage Club, where it's like liberty and justice for all, you know, except everybody else. You know, it's just exclusive club. You know, no one's allowed to come in.
They show that sign like a number of times.
I'm amazed it doesn't just say whites only. You know, like literally at the bottom brackets.
They really hammer it home, like just how big of pieces of shit the Duke brothers are. Like you would think like one of them would have some semblance, but no. Like when they're in the club and they tip, like they give.
You thought I forgot your Christmas bonus?
I think it was a $2 bill.
It was a $5 or $2.
Okay.
He goes, and he's just
$5, but he says that this is from both of us.
Yeah.
So that's what,
and he's like, oh, maybe I'll go to the movies by myself.
Even back then in the 80s, movies was $5. And in the Blob, it was like 85 cents.
Yeah, he goes, oh, we've wasted our 80 cents. Yeah, now what do you want from us? But I have to ask, like, Will, there's one question I've been gagging to ask you, because I know for a fact you've seen Coming to America.
Yeah.
Okay. So did this viewing make a certain scene from Coming to America make sense?
All of a sudden I had like I like it clicked for me. I was like, oh, okay, that's like
Randolph.
Yeah. I'm still not talking to you, Mortimer.
Yeah,
we're back.
I probably had seen Coming to America long before ever seeing Trading Places.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
I think that's usually how, like, especially people of our age, that's probably what the case was. But man, like, Trading Places was on TV constantly.
Right. Yeah.
Every single time because it was so fucking funny.
Yeah.
And that was the edited version. I didn't see the unedited version until I was much older.
Yeah, it's funny actually that because it's funny when same as me, like, you know, when we in the 80s you'd record movies off TV. And then you're getting the TV edit, and then you watch the actual version of the movie, and like, you know, you've memorized the other one, you've seen it 187 times, and then you watch it, and suddenly they start throwing out these words. You're like, what? Like,
you can show breasts in movies?
that's what they were saying.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's I was gonna say something. We said boobs, and then my mind.
Yeah, you were just picturing Jamie Lee Curtis, who is again.
You guys keep talking. I'm gonna watch that scene again.
But no, but she's actually just, like I said, I've just always loved Jamie Lee Curtis because she's got so much like fun to her. You know, she's got kind of like a natural, just when she's acting, she's just got this sort of natural, and she seems to have just absolutely no fun of being like, you know, no problem making fun of herself. She's, for someone who is, you know, objectively stunning in every single way, right? She doesn't mind, like, you know, dumbing it down. She doesn't mind having a bit of fun, and like, you know, she's just, I've always been such a fan of hers.
And I love that in this, she's like got her shit together. She's not just like a prostitute. Like, she's got a lot going on.
Right.
I think
she's got 40 grand in the bank, man. Like, she's named Ophelia. That's what I mean. I also figured out
T-bills.
Yeah, whatever the fuck that. Like, it's like, you know, there's certain things in the movie that, like, I was like, oh, I realized that. So they took her movie and Denholm Elliott's money. They took their money, sorry.
Yeah.
And that's how they bought into the Orange Futures. Right. They then, I was like, oh my God.
He says, this is like my life savings.
I was like, because I realized neither of them got any money. I was like, oh my God, okay. Though, much like everyone else on planet Earth, I don't fully understand what happened.
Dude, it's this scene in Trading Places and the one in Ferris Bueller that makes me understand the stock market even less. I don't understand how it works. I don't know who's bringing the paper. What the fuck are they writing down? Like, that seems like human error is inevitable.
Yeah.
It's absolute chaos.
Yeah.
It's fucking like Burning Man. I don't understand it.
Yeah, no, I was glad you said something, because like as I was watching it, you were like, yeah, I don't have any clue like what's going, and I was like, okay, I'm not the only one. I'm just literally watching everyone else's reaction, just being like,
thing opens at 9
bad
o'clock.
guys seem like they're upset. So
yeah,
normally the closing bell is at what, 4 or 5
p.m. right? Yeah, it's only 8 minutes. Yeah,
yeah, it's like they've been doing this for 10 hours. It's nuts.
It's so basically, like, the plot is that the same guy that they used to frame
Clarence Beeks.
Yes, Clarence Beeks, played by Paul Gleason, the principal from Breakfast Club, they've basically sort of like, he's got a hold of the Orange Futures, So what they do is they switch them. So the Dukes go all in on orange because they're expecting the price is going to go up because they've heard it's been a bad harvest. So then they've over leveraged themselves. So then the guys, when they go in, they then sort of help crash the market. It wipes out the Dukes when they have to. The margin call comes in at the end of it. I sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I really don't, guys.
I think it's for people who don't understand the stock market, it's the plot of Casino Royale. I think what's going on is I think what the bad guy does in Casino Royale is what Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd do in this movie.
They basically,
I think that's it.
Aren't they also doing insider trading? So
a little bit, yeah. But
that's also the plot of it. Yeah, that's part of it in Casino Royale. Yeah.
But to wipe out these rich douchebags that ruin their lives,
and the idea that would like this one day would fundamentally just empty all the money that they have is a little bewildering.
Well, it's like, that's what I mean. Is that okay? Because I follow. There's quite a funny Reddit of Wall Street bets where people just sometimes just post their absolute losses because it is a gamble. It's not like, I've lost my 50 grand. It's like, no, you've lost your 50 grand and you also owe $1 million now. So that's kind of what they did is they've over leveraged and the market's crashed. So these guys are now not just like, have they lost their money? But yeah, no, exactly. I was like, oh yeah, they invested in Tesla. But like, is that, because you see at the end is like Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd are buying, they're basically cornering the market, but they're buying everything back, at 25 cents when it was
in a span of 8 minutes.
Yep. And they just got all these pockets stuffed with things and stuff like that. They're just
what is on those papers? I don't understand what's happening. How are they qualified to do any of this? They're just yelling numbers out. One guy fucking faints.
It's like that clip you've seen online of like Robert Downey Jr. when he actually went to Wall Street.
Yeah.
And he's just like bewildered and he leaves and he's like, that's the worst place I've ever been in my life. Like that's
the first day he did cocaine.
Yeah. I'm gonna go do some cocaine about it. Yeah. But you've got Ralph Bellamy, Don Amici, right? So that is Ralph Bellamy's 99th movie was this. Wow. Don Amici's 49th movie, and it was Eddie Murphy's second film. And Eddie Murphy joked, between the three of us, we've made 150 movies. Yes.
That's awesome.
Dude, that's so good. Oh yeah, it's funny. So it's when we were watching the movie and the great Don Amici bit where he tries to catch the money clip. And ding, 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 and it was like, Zen was like, that definitely was an accident. I go, 100%. That was
you can't plan that.
And also, Ophelia's Swedish disguise is because Jamie Lee Curtis couldn't do an Austrian accent, so they just kind of went with it's funny. But you're
awesome. And that scene also taught me, like, I need to see Jamie Lee Curtis in that outfit way more often.
That's the least problematic part of that scene.
Yeah, I know. We've got the drunk Irish priest. We've got
I'm from Cameroon.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's so good.
I love Eddie Murphy with his fly swap thing, and he's just constantly doing the fly swap. But then Dan Aykroyd comes in blackface. Irie, how you doing? But
it's so bad. Like, how does Clarence Beeks not immediately recognize him? Like, how did they think?
He kind of does. He's kind of by the time he comes in, he's like, "All right, I know what's going on."
I mean, he clocks them like switching the briefcase. Like, he's not stupid, but he does end up getting butt fucked by somehow. There's a gorilla on this train.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, maybe they're transported to zoo, but why would it's just a people carrier? Like, that's crazy.
Well, they took it on a train from like Philadelphia or Boston to New York to then load it onto a boat that was going back to Africa. I know. Again, what are we asking? Who cares, guys?
Well, and also, so there is like a costume party going on the
New Year's Eve
train.
Yes, it's the New Year's Eve
but everybody
party.
was like in a Halloween costume, like because there was like a Frankenstein and a mummy. And what I'm saying is, it was
Jim Belushi,
and a Jim Belushi, which. Like, that is such a long way to go to get somebody in a gorilla suit. It was
true.
It was such a long walk.
Never thought about it until right now.
But you know what? That made me love it even more. I'm like, you put in so much effort for this stupid gag.
And he comes out just wearing a tank top, and he's like, "Hey, you'll never believe it! Somebody stole my costume."
And everybody cheers and is that why? I don't. Whatever. It's great. I loved it.
I say, well, I'm like, I was just reading here that Don Amici's strong religious convictions made him uncomfortable with swearing. So he does at one point say "fuck him," but they only ever got it on one take. And I'm reading that and I go, yeah, but Don, you also dropped the N word.
Yeah, I was gonna say
pretty comfortably.
Well, actually, that's probably pretty consistent with it,
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Conversely, they shot that take 40 times.
How many times do I get to say it?
Bit more stank on it. I'm like, and then I mean, it's also like
But the cut to Eddie Murphy's reaction face was literally my reaction too.
Yeah, it catches you way off guard. You're like, oh, whoa.
He eats the fucking roach too.
Yeah,
just perfect physical comedy.
Well, I always say like there's the one bit where the Duke brothers have sat down and they're explaining commodities to Eddie Murphy like he's an idiot, or perhaps he might get him bread.
Right in the camera.
And exactly, he gives us Burt Reynolds from Smokey and the Bandit. It just goes straight down. It's great bit though of just like these motherfuckers. It works. Like sometimes
the first time he does it in the he's put in the police car, right?
Yeah, they're driving off and he looks at
that
the camera.
was that didn't seem necessary. Like
yeah, that one was odd, but like the second time that he does it, it's well earned. Back when people knew how to like break the fourth wall.
I was gonna say, conversely, in going back to the Blob, there's an entire bit of dialogue that's shot directly at the fucking camera. I'm like, who is this guy looking at? If you remember that, doesn't matter.
Good. Wait, hang on a second. Like, I was just really so they use the actual World Trade Center commodity exchange for the trading scenes, and there are real traders performing alongside the professional extras, which is like, it's why there's a certain level of like it feels authentic, even though Eddie Murphy goes, I have no idea what I was saying. I was just saying the script. But the appearance of Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy, because they were going to do it on a weekday, disrupted business activities to such a point that $6 billion of trading was halted. Shit. Oh, wow. So then they rescheduled for a weekend. $6 billion worth of trading was distracted. Like all these guys screaming, oh man, look, there's Eddie Murphy.
It's a lot of frozen orange juice.
Well, and as we all know, the economy like totally crashed back. Oh wait, no, we felt no difference at all. Wall Street's useless. Like the complete cancer in society. Anyway,
this is good as well. Al Franken still gets royalties. He on his financial records when he was a senator. He still gets from awesome. I didn't recognize him. There was something about that guy's face.
I clocked him instantly.
Yeah, because I saw him on the credits, but I guess I was just looking for older Al Franken. I was like, oh wait a minute, this is like the 1980s, I suppose.
And this is like the tail end of that like SNL that troupe of SNL actors. Like you could in any other universe, you could see, a Chevy Chase in the Dan Aykroyd role, maybe. But I like the vulnerability and the posh twattiness that Dan Aykroyd brings to this role.
Yeah.
Just makes like I honestly can't picture anyone else in it.
Yeah, I mean, this was around the time that a young Joe Piscopo set out to conquer Hollywood. So we could have gotten that movie.
Any day now.
I'm sorry. I'm reading about, like I said, because I love Jamie Lee Curtis, man. She's just so funny. And it was like saying that it was a bit of a hard sell for the studio, because like I said, she wasn't known for comedy. She's coming out as Scream Queen, and like the fact that she was willing to be topless. But in a 1990 interview, she's like, I don't regret going topless. My breasts are beautiful. And I got to tell you, they got a lot of attention for what is relatively short screen time. And I'm like, God bless you. I just love her so much.
I'd say there's just one line of dialogue that's been bored into my brain, and like I knew it was coming up, but it's just a cut. They're at the squash club, and it cuts to this woman, and she's finishing the tail end of a story, and she goes, and she stepped on the ball. Love that.
Such a good.
It's completely out of pocket, out of context, but it's such a fucking insane line delivery that when they're singing the fucking Harvard song or whatever it is.
Yeah, Constance Fry. Constance Fry.
I know that.
Anytime you call. Oh my God, I didn't spot this one either. I saw the name, but you texted. I didn't spot Giancarlo Esposito.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, baby Giancarlo Esposito.
God,
like
and what did I say?
Esposito? Is that how you say it?
Esposito? Yeah. You have to,
expository.
Giancarlo Esposito.
I gotta re-scroll through my text. It was the guy that played the bartender. I recognized his voice was.
Oh yeah,
Zachary Lamb in Demolition Man.
Yep.
The fuck is his name?
No, yes, of course he is. Holy cow, you're right.
Yeah, that guy was always 50 years old.
Yeah.
Like constantly. Because I'm like, this is what year is this? 84?
83.
83, pretty early.
Yeah, and he's still old in this. I'm like, that, my God.
I also I love the we still have the Eddie Murphy laugh. I miss that we don't get the Eddie Murphy laugh.
Bill Cobbs.
Yeah, that's right.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
I just heard the voice. I'm like, there's no way that's him. Like, he would have been a kid.
Nope, he was born at 60 years old.
I love the scene of him first in jail doing the fucking the Bruce Lee dialogue. Karate man bruise on the inside. It's great. Just great. Didn't I tell you that my car was in the shop? Everything. Like, I know it by heart. So it's so good. And I was so worried like Will would watch it. Again, like, you watch a movie, we grew up with this movie, and you watch, like, if you didn't and you're watching it now, you've seen so much stuff prior to that, and you're just like, yeah, I don't see the appeal. Like, that happens to me every single episode.
Yeah. No,
but this is such a fucking classic. I'm up, like, I felt that way with like the Blues Brothers, for example. Like, I didn't grow up watching that movie, so it just didn't click with me the same way.
Right. And it's same to people, same everything, basically,
Yeah, I think because the subject matter is so timely still, like, that this really still worked for me. It's again, anytime you can get a comedy where people mess with rich people, it kind of just always works.
Yeah, I mean, and this and back to back with Coming to America, it's like they feel very, I guess they don't really feel similar, but it just, there's something about them. I know there's that one, like,
it's called Eddie
line.
Murphy.
Yeah. But this was like, I'm probably just launching from this and then later on going to Coming to America, which has a crazy story. Like, that movie, especially, I was hearing that the way that movie got made is they pitched the idea, and 6 months later it was in theaters. Like,
Jesus Christ.
It was such a quick turnaround for like pre-production, production, and then like getting it in theaters. Like, I can't even imagine.
Actually, isn't that one of the movies that made us thing on Netflix? Because I think that's the one they got John Landis in on that one. But I think I may have to rewatch that actually a little bit later. That's a great show for anyone that's listening or watching. If you love movies, watch the movies that made us on Netflix. They really should make some more of those, because that was really
I was going to say, like, every now and again we'll do an episode. I'm like, fuck that. Like, we talked about Short Circuit. Like, did they do one of those? It seems like they would have.
Yeah, it was Dirty Dancing, Die Hard. They did like all the horror ones as well. But like
Alien versus Predator, all the classics.
Yeah. The Predator. God, I'm just trying to wonder like what it could have been like, with Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder. That's like
it would have been funny, but they might have been a little too old at this point. I think what really works is both, at least Eddie Murphy has like a really youthful energy.
They look like they're in their mid to late 20s, maybe.
Yeah,
like Dan Aykroyd's maybe 30. I don't know.
Yeah, this would have been pretty late in Richard Pryor's career, in Gene Wilder's career. Not the end, but
to fit these characters, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like, it works a lot better with younger people.
I mean, it's still right on the cusp, because if this was in like
Eddie Murphy was like 22, 23.
I mean, I think it still could have worked. Maybe, I don't know.
I think it could have, but I think having them that young, like that different than the Dukes, I think really, really helped like the energy of the movie.
Plus, I wonder if people were getting tired of the two of them together. Just seeing so many movies with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor together, like, oh, another one of these. Whereas, this was something new and fresh with two hot young actors.
Although
young actor, Dan Aykroyd.
Although who could have known? I mean, Richard Pryor was coming right off the hot success of Superman 3. So,
well, like we're saying, like, I also like very, very shot around Philadelphia. It's a very, very Pennsylvania movie, and that's the bigger question. Okay, so we are putting it up against Sudden Death, which is a movie that, like, how did we? I mean, the thing is, we were kind of like going, well, it gets in a bit of the blue collar, and we got some sort of stuff. I mean, I don't know because
I think the core of it is it just takes place at a fucking
in an ice
game. Philadelphia Flyers stadium.
Right.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
So this
famous Philadelphia native Jean-Claude Van Damme
with his perfect, flawless accent. So we've got that. Okay. Then we've got the Blob, which, as it turns out, is actually inspired by something that went down in Pennsylvania in 1950 and is shot all across Pennsylvania and in these small towns. And then we have this, Trading Places, which is like I said, man, the opening 5 minutes of the movie is a why you don't want to live in Pennsylvania in 1983 or Philadelphia.
I was thinking about this last night. I'm like, Trading Places is like the most of these three movies is the most Philadelphia movie for sure. But is it the most Pennsylvania movie?
I don't even know. Like, yeah, you get like the tour of Philly at the beginning with Trading Places, but like that could have also just easily been like just different scenes in New York or like Wall Street. Like it really doesn't affect the movie.
Yeah, this movie could have
in any way.
Easily. That's perfect because I was thinking that too. Like this movie could have, like I said earlier, could have easily been set in New York or shot in like or Chicago or
I'm like you, Ryan. I assumed it had been.
Yeah, exactly.
It was only the fact that they finish off pretty much the opening montage with a close-up shot of the Rocky statue that you're like, this is shot in Philadelphia. And we're going to get reamed for not doing Rocky again, by the way. We managed to find...
We're saving it for our very special Rocky episode where we watch all 5 Rocky movies. And
we're going to do Rocky Balboa, and Creed.
Oh, hell yeah. I am
Rocky Horror Picture
Show down for that. The secret 7th one.
So yeah, it's like the Pennsylvania of this all, because yes, I'm not disagreeing. That
is. I mean, I think about that too. Like, yeah, the Blob is like set in a small town. Like, there's no denying because you have that small town feel, and it's shot all over. But it is also like a lot of studio stuff too.
It's very Anytown USA. It's not. Yeah, like I don't even think in Trading Places do we even see the Liberty Bell?
Yes,
it wasn't invented yet.
And we see a lot of the shots of like the founding fathers and stuff like. Because honestly, and I'm gonna say this. Mrs. was watching the movie and she was like, she goes, wait, this is in Philadelphia? Like, I go, you didn't notice all the stuff that we, and she goes, nope.
I forgot what state we were doing mid-watch of this movie. But to be fair, that happens every week.
But you never forget in Sudden Death because you're literally have a scene where Jean-Claude Van Damme is fighting a mascot of the Philadelphia Flyers. So
I see what's going to happen is we're going to look at this next year and be like, how the fuck did Sudden Death win again?
because it never lets you forget where it takes place.
So, okay. I mean, I think that your arguments are solid regarding Trading Places. Trading Places is, even though it is obviously in Philadelphia and talks about it and opens with a 5-minute montage of it, everyone still forgets it's there.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
And it
doesn't happen with the movie Philadelphia.
So I'm going to take Trading Places and I'm going to throw it out to the side. So now it is the final Sudden Death is Sudden Death versus the Blob. Now, okay, I'm still going to fight the Blob's corner a little bit here because, like I said, story originated in Pennsylvania. It's shot around Pennsylvania, not just in one city.
And this movie was inspired from that story? Did you say that?
Well, that's kind of, that's what it seemed to say. Is
I just didn't know if, I didn't know if the director was like, oh.
It's a bit of a coinky dink. I'm going to throw.
I mean. Yeah.
And it was shot in a studio, but that studio was in Pennsylvania. And like, Will, I see your argument about Anytown, USA, but weren't we able to flip that argument when it came to the giant spider invasion, which I'm pretty sure won? Because
how dare you? How dare you? That is a classic.
You turned the spiders cinema against him.
Oh man. Listen. Giant Spider Invasion is a perfect movie.
It's a movie I haven't forgotten about.
You're on the booze again. But Sorry, no, I'm still going sudden death. Sudden death is. I'm sorry, you're not going to convince me that the Blob is more like Pennsylvania than sudden death. There's just no universe. Like, there's no iconography. Do we see a license plate of Pennsylvania? I don't think we do.
Yes, I don't think they had license plates back then.
They had I was gonna say. Yeah.
Okay.
Were there even 50 states? I don't even know.
All right, I love it. No, you know what?
Okay.
I love it. Like I said,
wow.
we avoided doing Rocky. We avoided doing Philadelphia.
Never heard of it. Who?
and for the second year running, the champion, the movie that defines Pennsylvania to the world, the universe, and everywhere else, until such time as we do Rocky, is sudden death.
We will never do Rocky. I'm making this promise right now. We will never do Rocky. Suck it, Pennsylvania.
I can't believe we ended up doing sudden. Oh God! Oh,
I tried to just get us all to watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia for an entire episode, but
no, I do want to make it clear that I love Rocky. I love all those movies. Too bad they never made a fifth one. They just went from 4 to 6. I don't know why they did that, but I love that franchise. We will never do Rocky on this podcast.
I will say, I think
declaring it now.
Of course, I'm growing up with sequelitis. I think I'd only seen the Ivan Drago. Was that Rocky 4?
4.
Ivan Drago, and then 5 with Tommy Gunn.
Oh dear.
Yes, we don't talk about 5. But I need to. If we're going to talk about 4, Will, have you seen the? I haven't. But during the pandemic, Sly Stallone went in and recut number 4, added 20, 40 minutes or something like that. Cut stuff out. You're not interested in watching?
He cut the robot. I'm out. I have no interest whatsoever. How dare you? Cut Brando out of The Godfather then. What are we talking about? Insane. Cutting the robot. He brings Polly a cake. Come on.
Did he do it like, if you ever watch 30 Rock, does he do it like Seinfeld Vision where he just kind of superimposes himself in his current age back into the movie?
Now that would actually get me to watch.
Oh man, that would.
He actually voices the robot.
I have to be honest. I am interested in seeing it. It's just 45 more minutes of training in the snow with a beard.
Well, yeah, right.
And it's supposed to be less cheesy. Like that's the thing is he's like I want to make it darker, more serious, and I'm like no. You're going against what makes that movie amazing.
Stick to the novelization.
Yeah.
I do love Sylvester Stallone. Like the guy's got an ego the size of his muscles in the 80s because I do like that he solved the Cold War twice. You know, he did it as Rocky and Rambo. You know, he just like I could do it, whatever.
He solved all crime in Cobra.
Right, he won the Vietnam War in Vietnam War Part 2.
Eats pizza perfectly normal.
Oh God! Wait, what state does Cobra take place in? That we definitely got to do Cobra.
Isn't it L.A.?
Let's look it up.
Better be. I love Cobra.
Don't you live on like Cobra Street and Heat Avenue?
Yeah, sorry. Cobra follows Los Angeles Police Lieutenant Marion Cobra Cabretti.
God, love it. Oh, I love that movie so much.
I have to admit, I've never seen Cobra.
Really?
Oh, we are absolutely.
Oh my God! It is so like he's making so many choices.
I love it too.
He's like, I gotta have this car. I gotta wear these gloves. I gotta wear these gloves. I gotta.
It's one of the coolest posters I've ever seen.
Okay, the movie, the poster is 75,000 times cooler than what the movie actually is. But don't forget, Don't forget that Cobra is what Beverly Hills Cop was supposed to be.
Right. Yeah. Right.
As well. So we've circled all the way back around to Eddie Murphy, but. Okay, we may have officially crowned sudden death again, double champion. Good Lord, what do we do?
Stanley Cup 2 years in a row.
Unbelievable. But while we're here, what were some of the other movies that we could have chosen? Now, I did mention already, Philadelphia, perhaps.
Feel good movie of the year.
Rocky. One other one I did try to throw out there was Groundhog Day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I
That's
thought
definitely. We need to do that next time.
Punxsutawney Phil. That's a very specific Pennsylvania thing.
I wanted to pick the Phil Hartman and Sinbad movie House Guest, but you guys yelled at
me. I mean, if we do that for season 3, we do House Guest and Groundhog Day. It would skip Rocky again. That would make me so happy.
Gettysburg, famously.
Yeah. There's the Silver Linings Playbook, which I've still never seen, which I hear is really good. but that's set in a Pennsylvania suburb of Philadelphia.
I know that's just a movie I just won't enjoy. I don't know what it is.
It's a no sudden death. I'll tell you that.
Well,
nothing is.
How about this? If we want to get all dusty again and a bit blobby, but Night of the Living Dead. Never seen it. 1968.
Oh, really?
Never seen it.
That probably free on YouTube.
Actually, hold on. That would be a really fun, not just group watch, but if we want to do like a live watch, like with an audience, there is no copyright on that.
That's right. So that stopped me before. I am being sued by Paramount.
And this is okay. There's a movie I threw out there and that I got like node about, but I've never seen Flashdance.
Oh, really? That was
never seen.
I haven't seen it
Flashdance.
either.
And it's Jerry Bruckheimer's first movie, I think.
Yeah. That movie set like the template for all his. He's like, this has to look like this. We need this director. It's got to have this soundtrack.
Yeah, it's a very, very Bruckheimer movie. I'd be down to watch that again. Like that.
We pulled up the original Crazies.
Yeah, that might skip that one.
I wanted to pick the
12 Monkeys. I remember one of you guys threw out there.
Yeah, 12 Monkeys.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, I wanted to throw that one out. I mean, I think all of Romero's movies are in Pennsylvania, so we could do Martin, his vampire movie.
He's the M.
Any
Night
big
Shyamalan
Martin heads out there?
Oh, hang on. And there was one movie that we did circle that we avoided for our own childhood trauma.
The Tim Allen movie for richer or poorer
is My Girl, the 1991 movie. Where it's like, I remember watching it.
The bees.
So, I mean, outside of all of the 27 Rocky movies and the spin-offs, there are a shit ton of movies when it comes to Pennsylvania. How many times can sudden death win? We'll find out when we circle back around.
Yes.
Or we get a challenge movie. But of course, before we can end the episode, we need to know where we are going next week. Quite excited about this one, actually. We had a lot of fun with this one. We're going to the state of Massachusetts, where our champion last time was one of our favorite watches, actually, of the year. Blown Away, which did that to us. It blew us away.
With its bad Irish accent.
Oh, flawless Irish
blowing.
But guys. So we right before we started rolling, we figured we would sort of pick some movies. I feel like we've done Massachusetts better than we've done Pennsylvania because we've gone
debatable.
Because I know we did Departed last time as well. Will, why don't you tell us about one of the movies that we've chosen?
We are let's see. Oh, I remember. Sorry, I should have written them down. Good Will Hunting we're definitely covering because that is a perfect movie. That's gonna be a great one to talk about. That's the movie I can watch anytime somebody brings it up. I love that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Not just because my name's in it.
I've seen it once before, but it's just never stuck with me. Yeah.
Oh man, for me it's Robin Williams. Is that movie? Granted, I know you've got Matt Damon and Ben Affleck winning their Oscar for writing it, but it is it's Robin Williams. I think it's one of his best performances. I love this movie too. I remember watching it when I was at school, and
you love Minnie Driver. Come on, say
yeah, absolutely, I do.
Yeah,
she's got even as a Brit, I love her accent. You know what I mean? It's like, even when she does her Irish accents, when I really like it. But Minnie Driver is an absolute treasure. We're having back on because we had her for Grosse Point Blank, didn't we? So yes.
Nice.
And then we've gone a little bit more random for the other one. A movie I haven't seen since I saw it the first time, and I own it on Blu-ray because my friends in Singapore loved it.
Yeah, you keep bringing that up.
Yeah, because I have a Blu-ray player now. Do you want to tell us about that one, Ryan? Which one it was?
Nope. It was Boondock Saints.
Yes.
I have not seen it, and I'm excited.
Yeah, it's kind of random. It's kind of random. But I'm excited because Billy Connolly's in it, Willem Dafoe's in it.
Is the guy from The Walking Dead? Is Norman
the guy
Reedus
from the War? Yes, Norman Reedus.
He's one of the saints.
And is it Sean Patrick Flannery or something like that? Who's definitely
for you to say.
Yeah, most Irish sounding name ever. Just checking right now because we currently are on Just Watch. Is that you can find Boondock Saints is on Prime and it's on Max right now. If you're listening to this episode up to date, and you can find Good Will Hunting on Hulu. if you're looking there as well. Though it might be on. No, it's not Paramount Plus. Well, it might be. No, not sure. It's honestly, it looks to be a little bit everywhere actually. You'll be able
on
to
Hoopla, Pluto, or
you'll be able to find
Pig.
both of the Giggle Pig. Giggle Pig is the dread from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I was just watching that.
Me too. So was I. I love that show. So guys, next time we're heading to the state of Massachusetts, so check it out. Watch Boondock Saints, watch Good Will Hunting if you haven't, and also give Blown Away another go if you haven't seen it before. It is really good fun. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to this one, and I did enjoy Pennsylvania. This was it was fun to get into the Blob for whatever it was, and I can't Pennsylvania. I apologize. Also, maybe you're actually quite proud that sudden death is still your champion, and I promise,
hell yeah,
we will one day.
It would be funny if they had a Blob statue instead of Rocky.
Maybe
just a piece of a ball of chewed gum.
Maybe they do.
Which is what, strangely enough, that's what Stallone looks like currently.
Well, look, guys, if you want to find out any more about us, we do have a Facebook page. You can find us at the United States of a Movie. You can find me as That Englishman in Texas, or you can find me as Ollie Pettigrew on Facebook. You can find Will as Entitled Willennial on TikTok. He loves to talk about movies, dusty old movies, great movies, and new movies. And you can find Ryan as Rhino Digital, RYNO Digital. He does some great redesigns. And Ryan, you've got to send me some of those posters for our Facebook page. I want them.
Oh, shit, yeah.
I want those up on our Facebook page, please, because they are too funny not to share with the world.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, thank you from me, Ollie, from Will, and from Ryan. As always, thanks for joining us for this episode of the United States of Movie Podcast. We'll see you next time.